Well, I'm recording this at night, but morning. Welcome everybody here to the Lakers Lowdown. I'm Anthony Irwin. Today on the show, well, the Lakers are back, and unfortunately, so is sometimes here, sometimes not here, Anthony Davis. Let's get to it. Well, welcome back to the Lakers season or to Lakers basketball. The Lakers open up their season with a double-digit loss to the Golden State. The Denver Nuggets, 119 to 107 was your final. Nikola Jokic was the best player on the court, as you would probably expect. He's the best player in the world. 29 points, 13 boards, 11 assists, 12 of 22 from the field, 3 of 5 from three-point range, 2 of 4 from the free throw line. Essentially the line that I think Darvin Ham has envisioned for Anthony Davis. Unfortunately, Anthony Davis felt like playing half of a basketball game. In one half, you would say 17 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 blocks, 6 of 17 from the field. You would say, like, hey, that's a good half of basketball. And that's all that Anthony Davis really played. That's all he felt like playing. There are some theories for what might have been going on there. I do think it's a collective issue. That once again, here we are where the Lakers will just like forget that he is on the court. I think some of that is D'Angelo Russell's problem. I think some of that is just a collective problem, but I also think it's an Anthony Davis problem. Like this has been an issue for long enough now to where like, yeah, AD needs to go in there and break some skulls and remind people, hey, hello, Jokic is in foul trouble. Can we get some touches? Yeah, that was a frustrating aspect of it. But I think to me, the bigger takeaway here, and we'll get to macro and micro takeaways here in a little bit. But to me, the biggest takeaway, the thing that I just kept thinking over the course of the game is, good God, Denver is good. They are really effing good. They are a very talented group. That starting five plays perfectly together. They executed their asses off down the stretch of that game. Just could not be stopped. And even on those instances where the Lakers like forced a jumper, you had Aaron Gordon creating extra opportunities. Michael Porter Jr. caught fire in the second half. And when he is shooting well and when KCP is going 8 of 12 from the field, like you just are not beating them, period. And you certainly aren't beating them on a night where, two of your 3 point guards, D'Angelo Russell and Gabe Vincent, might as well have been playing for the other team. It was a tough one for those guys. But I think even before I get to like some criticisms here of the Lakers, I think you have to start by crediting the Denver Nuggets. They are excellent. They are the reigning champs. They look very good. And I thought Michael Malone did a good job of staggering his stars so that bench unit can kind of come along slowly this season. That appears to be their goal here. And it started well enough here. Look, we could talk about refereeing, but the Lakers lost by double digits. So there isn't much that I'm going to say there that isn't going to sound just like whining. But I did think that there was a weirdly refereed game. Jamal Murray kept getting off-ball fouls called for him. I think LeBron finally shot free throws late in the game. Yeah, he shot one free throw on the night in a game that he shot 10 of 16 from the field. A lot of his attempts coming at the rim. It was just, it was a weird game in terms of officiating. But at the end of the day, the Nuggets were just flat out better. I do have to start with AD. And the reason I want to start with AD isn't just because I'm going to criticize the guy, but also because I think a lot of the issues can be encapsulated in that conversation about him, right? So for one thing, AD needs to demand the ball. He was doing a very good job of it in the first half. He was doing a very good job of attacking in the first half. I also think, though, that he wore down because the Lakers essentially, like their approach with Jokic here was Jokic is going to have to score if the Nuggets are going to keep up with us offensively. And I think, that's why you saw in the first half, Jokic didn't have as many assists. Those picked up later in the second half, but that involved, unfortunately, a lot of AD defending Jokic on an island, and Jokic just kept backing him down. He kept leaning on him, even on spots where Jokic missed a jumper or missed a jump hook or something like that. He was right there in position to get offensive rebounds because, AD is giving up a good, I don't know, looked like 30, 40 pounds to Jokic in that matchup. And Jokic uses every single one of those pounds while he's playing. And then, the other part of it too is Jokic, he doesn't look like it. I always joke that he looks like he's playing with a chest cold, with the way that he breathes through his mouth and all that stuff. And he's always looks kind of pink and he looks kind of flabby and all of that. But he is always in excellent shape. And I just thought in this one he really wore Anthony Davis down. It really doesn't help when AD and another center are out there and you still have AD doing the center stuff defensively. It's just, it's a tough matchup for AD here, and I thought it really kind of took its toll on Davis down the stretch of the game. But I think when we talk about AD, beyond the obvious criticisms that you can have of the guy, I thought Russell played a really poor game, and part of that was how often he was, seemingly, forcing himself to get into a rhythm. And I just, on a team that is offensively as talented as the Lakers are, no player should ever feel like they have to force themselves into a rhythm. And if anybody is going to have to like force the issue, or if anybody should have the issue forced for them, it's Anthony effing Davis, not D'Angelo effing Russell. So in this one, Russell, you look at his line here, 11 points on 4 of 12 shooting, 2 of 5 from 3-point range, only 1 of 2 from the free throw line. Did have 7 assists, but he did also have 3 turnovers. And yeah, I just, it seemed like when the Lakers were on a bit of a run, and he does this, right? When he's playing well, he is very good at making the shot that forces a timeout, right? And really bumps up a run. But in this case, the Lakers would be on a run, and he would think it was time for him to take that shot to force the timeout. And he just kept missing him, or he kept forcing bad decisions there. And unfortunately, I really think, in this 5-out approach that the Lakers are taking, it is a much more collective approach. You do have to be, a lot more, you always hear the phrase on a string defensively, but with this approach offensively, you can't have guys just going rogue like that. It throws everything off. And I just think that Russell, all things considered, was probably the worst player in this game, and it was the worst version of him. It's a bummer to see, given how thrilled I was with his preseason. But I thought that this was about as bad a game as he could play in this spot. And look, he's a human being, and he said all the right things about how this is just another game, blah 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 blah. But Michael Malone said stuff about him that opposing coaches just don't normally say about their competition. And I think that probably stuck with Russell. And I think he probably wanted to make a point here. And unfortunately, he kind of sort of helped make Michael Malone's point. And rather than showing him in any real way. So I think that was a tough one. I thought that, he kind of took Austin Reeves out of some rhythm with how often, those guys play together, and how often Russell was really forcing stuff for himself. It was tough. And the Lakers were really kind of leaning on Russell with that second group. And I get it, because Gabe Vincent isn't really a natural creator. And that, was hit and miss, but more miss than hit. And against this Denver team, if you aren't beating their bench, if you aren't outstripping them when Jokic is on the bench, you're really kind of screwed. And the Lakers really were here. I do want to talk about Gabe Vincent. I'm not worried per se. I'm not worried about anything coming out of this one. Denver is really effing good. I think they are the best team in the league this year. But when it does pertain to, or as it pertains to Gabe Vincent, I thought we really kind of saw some of the concerns that I had with him when the Lakers signed him, in that, he didn't really generate a ton of space for himself. And now he also very clearly looked like he had some rust to shake off, both in terms of his shooting. Remember, though, like, what he shot in the playoffs was very much an outlier for him. But his shooting, his, again, ability to create space, even defensively, he kept on drawing a bunch of fouls. I think he finished the game, he committed 3 fouls on the night. And for a guard, that's a little high. Even considering that the referees just decided nobody could look at Jamal Murray. I thought that it was just like, I would imagine we're going to look back on this and say this is one of the worst games that Gabe Vincent plays for the Lakers this year. At least I hope so. Can't get much worse, I don't think, than this. Again, he finishes the game with 6 points, 3 of 8 shooting, couple assists, minus 17 on the night. And when he was out there, the Lakers just kind of looked out of sorts. And, I said it during the playback, which, by the way, if you want to watch games with us, subscribe to us at, I think it's playback.tv/Lakers Lounge is where you can find us. And we can watch these games together over the course of the season. But I said that for a point guard especially, it is very difficult to pick up rhythm on a brand new team without much of a preseason. And I thought this game very much looked like that for Vincent. So that's why I'm not really like worried per se moving forward. I do think it's going to get better just because it has to. But I do kind of, there were some questions about him coming into this season. He is small, so he isn't going to be like, and he doesn't have the quickest feet. Some of his defense, he's not going to be Schroeder. And if he's not going to be Schroeder, and he isn't, defensively, and he also isn't hitting knockdown, open threes, then, what do you, it's the meme, right? What do you, what exactly is it that you do here? And it was one of those games for him. So I thought, when you look at like the game in its totality and why it went the way that it did, Anthony Davis disappearing the way that he did, D'Angelo Russell playing the way that he did, and then behind Russell being Gabe and him playing the way that he did, that's just way too much to overcome without LeBron going nuclear and without, Austin Reeves going nuclear. There just isn't enough to make up for all of those things on the road against a pumped team in a pumped arena. And the game went as you would expect with all of that going on. Let's get to some of what I liked. And yeah, the Lakers lost by double digits, so you're not going to like as much as you liked, but there is still plenty, I think. For one thing, LeBron looked incredible. Like, he was getting to the basket at will, should have gotten to the free throw line a lot more, I thought. Now, Darvin Ham did say after the game, he was asked about the 29 minutes that LeBron played here and whether that's going to be the trend here moving forward. He did say that that is going to be the case, which makes it all the more important that this becomes an Anthony Davis team. If LeBron is going to be playing less than 30 minutes a night, that is a lot of time that, like, you need more creation out there, whether that comes in the form of pick and rolls where Anthony Davis is a wrecker of worlds, whether that comes in the form of Austin Reeves running the second unit and not D'Angelo Russell. So a follower on Twitter did make have a good question as far as Reeves goes. If they were really kind of easing him into it, it kind of looked like it. But I also think, though, like, Russell calling his own number as often as he did kind of hurt there as well. But yeah, as it pertains to LeBron, looked very, very, very good. And if that's the LeBron that they're somehow going to get in year 21 in his year 39 season, good Lord, that is just incredible. So I'm really kind of curious what he's going to have to say about that game, what he's going to have to say about AD not scoring in the second half. Because if, again, and I just said it, and it's worth repeating a bunch, if LeBron is only going to play 29 minutes a night, and if he isn't going to get to 30 minutes a night on a nightly basis, AD has to be special. And I know it's a lot to ask of him to be the kind of defender that he is and also carry that burden offensively, but he needs to carry more of a burden in that second half. And that's a combination of him needing to assert himself and yell at, Matt, remember Shaq? Like, for those of you who are, slightly older or whatever, but when Shaq was a Laker, or when Shaq played, or for any basically great big, if you aren't getting that player the ball, great bigs make it known that that cannot continue. And if LeBron is going to be kind of limited to only 30 minutes a night, or less than 30 minutes a night, then AD has to be that kind of a special big for the Lakers to really reach their pinnacle, like their optimal ceiling. At least in the regular season. Things change in the postseason and stuff like that. And again, you're not going to be playing these Denver Nuggets on a nightly basis. But it is good to see that when LeBron really does reach back to fire his fastball, he very much still has it. All right. So the next thing that I liked here kind of surprised me, frankly, but I thought we got a lot of good things from Christian Wood. I thought we got a lot of good things from Cam Reddish. I thought Reddish really competed defensively. I think Ham wanted to put some length on Jamal Murray. Now, Reddish is not as, great when it comes to like chasing around screens and all of that stuff. But I thought for what he was asked to do, I thought Cam Reddish acquitted himself quite well, well enough that I think he's going to continue to, get more looks until he doesn't do that consistently. And at that point, I think it would be Max Christie getting those minutes. And then I also, like I said, Christian Wood, he is, if you look at his PlayStation controller, all of his buttons say shoot at the top of it. He is not a ball mover. He is not really a screener. He exists on offense for one thing and one thing only. But he also competed. And I thought that I thought he was, given my preseason or my expectations coming off of the preseason, Wood very much exceeded those expectations. So from those two guys' perspective, pleasantly surprised, not thrilled, or wasn't thrilled necessarily that Reddish got those minutes over Christie. But if he is going to get those minutes and he plays well, then it continues to make some sense that the Lakers would do Clutch a favor. Wait, who said that? Wow, that is just irresponsible. Beyond that, though, again, it's 1 of 82, literally the first game of 82 that the Lakers are going to play here this regular season. Again, the final here in Denver being 119-107. And, you look at the type of game that, the Nuggets played. You look at their numbers, right? Aaron Gordon, 15 points, knocks down a 3, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, a block and a couple steals. The perfect Aaron Gordon game. Michael Porter Jr. struggles in the first half, catches fire in the second, winds up with 12 points, 12 boards, couple assists, couple of steals. If that's a bad game for him, then that's a perfectly fine, especially given the way that he shot down the stretch. Nuggets would even take that as a bad game. Jokic was Jokic. Jamal Murray was Jamal Murray, 21 points on 8 of 13 from the floor. With 6 assists and only 1 turnover. And then KCP was just a freaking flamethrower out there, asshole. 20 points from KCP against his former team, on 8 of 12 shooting, 2 of 3 from the 3-point line. Just felt like every time the Lakers were making a bit of a run there, it was a KCP shot, it was a Jamal Murray shot, it was a Aaron Gordon offensive rebound, and the Nuggets just really kind of took advantage of those things. And, the bench was about what I expected, right? Like, Zeke Naji was kind of garbage out there. Christian Brown made some plays, but he finishes the game with 5 points on 2 of 5 shooting. Looks perpetually surprised when he gets the ball wide open under the basket. Reggie Jackson, he played pretty well, 8 points, again, only on 3 of 8 shooting. So, like, the bench from Denver, like, kind of did what I thought they would do, which is that the Lakers bench was just also not great, where Rui Hachimura played pretty poorly. Already talked about Gabe Vincent, and Jackson Hayes went out there, and he didn't look very good either in his minutes before Wood eventually got out there. Interesting that Hayes got minutes before Wood, though after Wood outplayed Hayes, Wood got the minutes in the second half. Hayes didn't play in the second half there, and yeah, it was just, this is how a Nuggets win is going to look against this Lakers team. And yeah, beyond that, there isn't really much to say. Although I do think, again, there is a it's worth like spending a little extra time on Rui. So I apparently caught some heat on YouTube. There's a comment there saying that I was unfair to Rui or whatever. Though I did have a conversation with Pete about this, and in having conversations, either on air or off about Rui, I was a little nervous from what I saw from him in the preseason, where he basically solely existed to be a release valve. And I just don't think that is the best way to utilize him on the offensive side of the court. And the other thing too, when you are just basically operating as the release valve and you're doing a lot of standing offensively, then you start to form a habit within the game of just standing around defensively. And I just didn't think he ever looked very good out there on the court. And I would like to see the Lakers find some way to get him the ball while he's moving, to put him in pick and roll or dribble handoff kinds of situations. Um, get him the ball earlier in the shot clock where he has options and he doesn't feel like he has to get the ball up on the rim. I just, he was too big a part of their postseason success last year to basically no-show in the way that he did in this game, and again, not really look that great in the preseason. I know that he probably is not thrilled that Prince won out the starting gig from him, but he does still have to be a professional. He does still have to show up and anchor that second unit, especially on a night where Gabe Vincent doesn't have it going. And again, like when you look at why that second unit would succeed, it would be because Gabe Vincent plays decent and Rui plays decent. Neither of those guys did that, and that's why the Lakers bench, which is more talented than the Denver bench, just got outplayed and didn't do what they needed to do for the Lakers starters to have a real viable shot to take on the Nuggets starters. So um, again, nothing from this has me particularly concerned moving forward. Though, if there was one thing that I am starting to take note of, it's the utilization of Rui and how it doesn't seem to be doing him any real favors. All right, let's really quickly go through the comments here to see if I miss anything, any questions or whatever. But yeah, I'm just kind of looking through. That probably sums that up. Coding saying that AD was trash today. I thought he looked great in the first half. I thought he competed. I know some people were concerned with the low rebound total. The Lakers are playing 5 out. That's going to impact his offensive rebounding. And then he's also guarding Jokic, which your focus is going to be contesting and then boxing out. That's not going to help your rebounding numbers very much. But in the second half, like, you do have to just be better than he showed. And yeah, like, very difficult to defend AD any longer. The Nuggets basically didn't have to. The next one here, coming from, again, coding, Ham keeping Braun and D'Lo on the bench was a problem. Well, look, I think keeping LeBron on the bench is going to be kind of a story this year. This will be, if LeBron does play less than 30 minutes a night, that'll be easily the least he's played in a couple decades or so. And for a LeBron team to, even while he's around, carry upwards of 20 minutes or so of non-LeBron minutes, that is a lot to ask. And D'Lo has to be better, Reeves has to be better, and AD has to be better. If those guys don't rise to that occasion, don't rise to that challenge, then yeah, that's, again, not worried per se, but that would be a problem here moving forward. Another good note here from Alexis saying that the guards didn't really shoot well. Yeah, the Nuggets were making every big shot, and the Lakers felt like they were missing. They would get to like 6 points or so, and they would have an opportunity to either hit a three to cut that to 3, right, or they would be down by 3 and they could tie the game, but never quite got there. And Phil Jackson always used to say, in a game like this, you do so much fighting to get back into it that little extra energy that it takes to really climb over the top of the hill and take the lead winds up being too much to ask. And that tonight's game really felt a lot like that. See, I will say, Alexis does make a good point. To be fair to D'Angelo Russell, I did think he competed better on defense than he did in the postseason last year. It's kind of weird to say that, like, he was fine defensively, but atrocious offensively, and that's kind of why he played himself off of the court. It's a super weird game for him, and one that I think he can very easily bounce back from. Let's see. I'm gonna look through this. Yeah, I would say that would just about do it here for this one. One last question here from Alexis asking what I thought of Reddish's defense. I thought he competed. I thought he was fine on that side of it. He's super, like I've said this since the Lakers got him, since he entered the league, right? He is very gifted physically. He's one of those guys that you look at and you say, like, that guy should be a very good defender. And by the way, this is where I always say, I always kind of look to, I always look to incentives for what I think is going to happen there. And in his case, he is fighting for his NBA career now. And if he is going to save that career, he is going to have to welcome competing on the defensive side. He's going to have to welcome doing more of the little things than I think he was expecting when he came into the league as a top 10 player or top 10 draft pick, wherever he was taken. I think he was taken 7th, I think, maybe even higher. But yeah, I think I liked what I saw from him in this one for the most part. Struggled right when he got into the game, but I thought kind of picked things up over the course of it. But I will say, and this is a good question here from Benji, would Vando crack the starting rotation? No, I think I would still start Taurean Prince. But in a game like this, it would have been nice to have Vanderbilt to throw at Jamal Murray or to throw it at, weirdly enough, KCP, to get those guys out of the rhythm that they were in offensively. And yeah, I know that was essentially how they tried to utilize Cam Reddish, but Vanderbilt is just better at that, and I think that would help. And then the other thing too was Vanderbilt, the Lakers, I think could have really utilized. I'd have to look at the rebounding totals here. I think the Lakers did wind up grabbing more rebounds, barely. It's 44-42, but I thought that the Lakers could have utilized a couple extra offensive rebounds. Could have, some of those runs that were snapped, those baskets came on like second chance opportunities, and you have Vanderbilt out there. He can certainly utilize his athleticism to help avoiding some of that. But yeah, I think, this game made it pretty clear that even given some of the questions about, the amount of guys that the Lakers have at the wing, there is still very clearly a need for Jared Vanderbilt's skill set, which again makes it all the more important. Hey, bud, please get healthy. Please come back. Come back. But yeah, I think that'll just about wrap it up. All right. For those who missed it, I hope you guys do wind up checking out the show that I did with Pete and with Harrison earlier this week, where we, broke down the preseason and previewed the rest of this season. Always have a blast talking to those guys, and desperately missed it in those couple years that we were contractually not allowed to record with each other in this industry. So yeah, I was thrilled to get back and do that. One point that I made in that show that I think has aged pretty well was that Anthony Davis cannot disappear offensively. And he did in this one. And I thought that the first and second half's offense was kind of night and day because of that. Again, the problem was the defense. They gave up 119 points, but yeah, AD, you cannot have games like this where AD just goes away. Especially if this is the role that LeBron is going to be playing on this team. And by the way, it's the natural, like, that's how things should go. LeBron is going to be 39 this year, and he's in year 21. He should have handed the baton off to Anthony Davis by now, but they're still running around the track at this point, where like AD is like running like this, and he's just like staying just ahead of LeBron, and LeBron is like, come on, man, take it here. And LeBron, AD's like, well, maybe we'll see. And LeBron's like, take it. And we're all kind of screaming at Anthony Davis, like, take the baton, man, do it. But I don't know if it's if this game is any indication, then he's gonna have to be better. But all right, until the next time, I'm Anthony Irwin saying have a great rest of your day. Make somebody else's, and I will talk to you